Howdy folks, welcome to this video. Just walked along the riverbank in a bit of woodland that I know, reasonably close to home. Come out to do a little experiment today to see if I can cook a trout in newspaper on a fire. Because my friend John, Mr. Muddy Paws, gave me a outdoor cookbook for Christmas, and one of the recipes in there was trout wrapped in newspaper. So yeah, I'm down by the river because I'll need water for it. It's essentially steaming, so I'm going to wrap the trout in a parcel and soak it in the river and then put it in the hot coals of the fire and see if it steams within the newspaper before the newspaper burns. Also got a bit of pork with me, just a little tiny bit, which I'll just put on a stick and roast that over the fire and have a bit of a kind of a surf and turf lunch, as it were. I've gathered a few things on my way. I found a bit of birch, a bit of what do you call it, kind of old man's beard stuff, I forget the name of it right this minute, and a bit of wild clematis. So yeah, I'm going to work on getting the fire going. I'm going to do the fire right by the river here, because this bit is a floodplain, so it's a nice safe spot to have a fire. The ground down there is very damp. I'm just sitting above it here. But yeah, it's a nice spot down here. It's very peaceful. The river looks lovely. There's lots of little whirlpools and eddies and things because I'm on a bend. But yes, I suppose I'll start prepping some wood and we'll get the fire going, and then we'll have a look at the fish. We've had one of them named storms yesterday, day before, so there's tons of blowdown in the woods here, so getting firewood has not been an issue. I've just been pulling stuff off of the branches of other trees where it's just resting there, so it's off the ground, out of the rain, just making a little base to keep the early stage of the fire off the floor. And you've got these dead nettles as well, which make a really good sort of first stage, sort of fine twiggy dry bits. Any of them around. They're not bone dry, because nothing is, because we've had loads of rain, but it's they're so fine they should catch reasonably quickly. They don't burn for long, so you need quite a few of them. And these are just, I've just picked them up, pulled them out of branches as I've walked. I think that's enough logs. Just going to cut. I've cut the logs quite small because I don't want to you know, a fire that's going to last all night or anything. So keep them nice and small so we get a quick burn, and then coals relatively quickly. This was a piece of dead wood that was leaning. Some of it was on the ground, but it feels dry inside. Oh, it's my sit pad. Just going to make a few spindly bits to help get the fire going. When it's been wet, I think anything you can do to make life easier is worth doing. So, things I picked up along the way, this and this, which are similar species, but I can't think of the name. Lichen, that's it, lichen. But some people call it old man's beard. It's a little bit damp, but I've had it in my pocket for, I don't know, half hour, an hour. So that's something. These little bits of silver birch bark, which I tore off so that there's no wet bits on them. This big bit which has got loads of wet crap on the bottom. And this is the what do you call it? I said it earlier, now I can't think what it's called. Clematis. So this is clematis bark, and again this is damp, so I don't know that this will burn at all, but during the summer this is usually bone dry and it's a really good tinder. You can find it in the woods growing up the sides of trees, and it doesn't hurt the plant because the outside pieces are always sort of flaking off. You can just peel them as you walk past. But I'm going to add it to this little bundle for now. So that's my resources. I'm not really one for carrying fire kits, you know, there's enough resources in the woods that you shouldn't need a fire kit. Nobody should really. And yes, they are easier. You know, they make life easy, but part of coming out in the woods is having fun, isn't it? And this kind of thing, to me, is having fun. So I tend not to carry them. I mean, I always carry emergency stuff, you know, I have a lighter. I think I've got a bit of fire cord somewhere attached in my bag. But these are kind of last resorts, you know. I don't hold with coming out into an abundant, you know, resource abundant environment and bringing stuff from home. I just think it's kind of a waste of time. You might as well stay at home and play in your garden. Anyway, so this is the damp horrible bit of silver birch. That is going to be the beginnings of the fire, and then I'm going to add them, the feather sticks, the nettle bits, and away we should go. So I'm going to take all this over now and we'll get it going. Right. Put them there. Right, let's have a brace ready. Let's see if we can do this without making a mess. minutes to go. But it is damp, so we're struggling a bit. Hopefully that's not going to go out. I think we're okay. Hear it hissing and sizzling, so the stuff in here is wet. Hopefully there's enough there to stay alight. Just do a bit of Jenga, fire Jenga. Just try and make sure we're drying everything off before the flames get to them. Right. So I'm going to leave that for a little bit. Oh, don't fall over. Give it a bit more wafting. Right then, so I suppose we better prepare the meat. That'd be the thing, because that's probably going to take a bit longer. I need a bit of hazel, I think. I saw some over there when I went for a wee-wee. So I'm going to go and get a piece of that. And then I'm going to wrap the fish up. Hopefully that'll burn down quite quick now it's going. And we can get lunch on. Right, let's get some hazel. So this is what I'm after. Something quite thin, but not too thin. This piece is probably the ideal. I'm just going to bend it so that there's tension on it, and then just cut into it like that. That's a nice straight pole with a Y-shaped piece on it as well, which is handy. So I'm going to cut that Y-shaped piece because I'll use that as well. Take all this back with me. Start with this small bit. I'll just take the bark off and see how strong it is, whether it can hold the piece of pork. Might have to use a thicker bit, but we'll see. Just try and put a point on the end. probably alright. It's only a small bit of meat, so it should be fine. That's that. That's my Y-shaped piece. Okay. Got a point on this. I'm going to put this in the ground. Oh yeah, the ground is soft. And then that's going to sit on there. But I'm going to do, I've got this bank here. I'm going to push that in the ground so that it can sit over the fire. And the meat's quite heavy, so without tipping the meat in, that should work. Let's put the meat on. So I'm going to don the blue gloves because I'm out for the day and I don't want fish and pork juices all over me, because I've got hours till I go home. So I'm just going to look after my hands a little bit. So this is what do they call it, sort of pork fillet tenderloin. Just going to heat my stick up a little bit. So it's the piece of meat that runs alongside the spine, I think. And it's still a little frozen, so it's going to go in the fire. And that's all I'm going to do with it. No seasoning, no nothing. Just going to cook it as a piece of meat. This a bit close. This is the fish I got, which is, say, a whole trout, which was caught by my wife's mum's husband. So, Mr. PB, thank you very much. And it's been gutted, so it's ready to rock. And I'm just going to store it in there for a second. And the idea of this is, say, a piece of paper, wrap your fish in it, soak it, and then it should cook in the coals of the fire without the paper burning. You know, it's one of them things. I've not done it before, so we'll see. So the book says make a parcel, fold the ends in, roll it up, and that's it. Tempted to just put another layer on, just to keep it wrapped properly. So that's ready to go. I'm just going to get this going again before I put the fish on. So I'm going to leave that fire to burn down for a bit. Might make myself a coffee, let the meat cook for 10-15 minutes, and then we'll dump the fish in and see what happens. But yeah, I'm going to take a break now and come back when we're getting ready to put the fish on. Cue the adverts. This bit of pork is coming along nicely. Because it's pork, I want to make sure it's done, so I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to give it as long as possible. Right. Steady. Trying to soak it right through the paper. Enough, surely. We'll try that. So. A little bed here for it to sit in. I'm going to put some of these coals around it on top and what have you. Ouch. I decided I'm just going to pile on some small bits just to try and get a bit of flames and heat around the top. The paper shouldn't catch light because it's wet, so if I can get them to flame up, then there'll be coals sort of sitting all around. This is the head end, so I want this to get more heat than what's there. So this is all fumbling in the dark for me. I've not done it. Obviously I didn't bring the book with me. I say the paper, because it's wet, is meant to not catch fire. It's meant to just smoulder and smoke, and the water inside turns to steam, so the fish gets steamed inside. I think from memory it said you put it on the hot coals and after a while you turn it. But obviously, because I've covered it in twigs, I won't be able to turn it for a little while. I want it to work, but I've got my doubts at the moment. Hence a bit of pork, so at least I've got something to eat. I think what I'm going to do is just leave the fire now. You know, those twigs will burn for all of a couple of minutes and then they'll just be hot and sitting on top of the fish. So I'm just going to spread them out a little bit so they're evenly on the fish. And I think I'm just going to cross my fingers and leave it. And probably for, I don't know, a good 10-15 minutes, maybe longer, 20 minutes, half hour maybe. And let's see what the time is now. It's 1:15, so yeah, I'll leave it to at least 1/2 and we'll see what happens. I mean, there's plenty of heat there, so by rights it should be cooking away. But I'm just going to fiddle with my pork, keep turning it, and I hope my water boils for coffee. And if that paper suddenly bursts into flames, then obviously it's time to take it out. But all the while it's just sitting there smouldering and blackening. That should be protecting the fish, and the fish should be steaming inside. That's the theory. So yeah, I think it's better just to leave well alone and let it cook. Well, I've turned it and the underside wasn't charred at all, which is quite interesting. I've no idea if it's cooked, but I think the time has come. It's about 1:45 now, so it's had a good, I don't know, 45 minutes. And you know, there is still heat coming out of there. It's just anyone's guess if it's cooked or not. So I think the time has come to have a look. I've made a semblance of a plate out of some split down bits of wood. I'm going to make my coffee up, and then we'll see if it's done. Right, let's see then. I don't quite know how to get the layers off. Well, there is steam. Oh yeah, check that out. It smells beautiful. Let's have a look. Oh, it's done. Oh, that's good. Just coming off the bones nicely. So yeah, 45 minutes was the time. That's really nicely cooked. I made up some herb butter and a bit of lemon juice at home, but I left it at home. Wow. But it doesn't need any of it. As glorious as it is. The meat's just coming off nice. And this is based on the same principle as, you know, wrapping it in leaves. But obviously in this country we lack large leaf plants that are safe to wrap things in. There's a few, but they're quite hard to find. Newspaper being the next best option, which, you know, I was a bit dubious about when it was cooking, but to be fair, that's really good. Let's try this pork then. Might cut into it and just see. Oh yeah. That's nicely cooked through. Oh, that's got a really smoky flavour. Love that. No fat, no seasoning. Yeah. See if I can get this skeleton out in one. Nice, definitely cooked, and it's coming out of its skin. So if you don't like fish skin, it's a good way to cook it. The skin is stuck to the newspaper, so you're just getting the flesh. Look at that. Focus. See the way it just breaks apart. That tells you a fish is done when the fillets just fall apart like that. Good lunch. Oh, right. I think that's about it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I'm glad it wasn't an embarrassment. It came out alright. Yeah. I've just got to clear all the mess up now. But yes, I will tidy up after myself. Got a little robin just hovering behind the camera. If I move to turn round, film him, he'll fly away, so we'll leave him where he is. It's been a good day. So, thanks again for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. Leave a like on this video if you've enjoyed this video, and all that kind of thing. Have a good day. See you soon. Nice.